Everyone, and welcome back to the West Ham Network for the final word. The final word. Yes, West Ham beat Everton earlier on today, 2-0. This is going to be a new thing moving forward. Just a couple of points, and I thought I'd come on and do it live. I thought just instead of doing a pre-recorded one, while I had a chance, I would come on and do it live. I'm going to give you the chance to come on and have your say also, and your thoughts on the game. We're going to dissect a little bit of what David Moyes said in his post-match press conference. The main thing for me today is the fact that West Ham did win the game 2-0. We got the victory when we so desperately needed the victory. And yeah, at the end of the day, it might not be one of the most convincing wins under the West Ham management, under the West Ham system. It wasn't, one that we'll write home about and say, oh, remember that day when we done this and we done that. But for me, today was all about being a professional performance. It was about getting a job done, getting the 3 points and getting it over the line and trying to build on momentum, trying to build on motivation and bottle up whatever that was today and try and push that forward for weeks to come as we try our best to progress up the league. Now, a few interesting points, and there's loads of comments coming in here, so I'll see what everyone else says with it. But feel free, see if you are watching, right, please feel free to dial the number and get your point across. I'm really intrigued to hear it. I can see you in the chat, Epic, Harry and Kevin. So dial the number, please come on and just have your say. It's not your visual, so just be your voice that will be getting heard on the show anyway. So here we go. For me, I've said it as it is. Yeah, there's maybe an element of mixed emotions, but so many people have said Everton are such a crap side, and I don't take anything away from the fact that they did not play well. They didn't really test West Ham throughout that game today. Of course they didn't. The but would be that we were playing at not such a great team in Everton. But the same could be said for the game last week against Wolves. And today could have been that banana skin for West Ham. It could have absolutely been that big banana skin for West Ham. Typical West Ham, when the going gets tough, we turn up against a team that's struggling to do anything to and it's turmoil on and off the park. Their manager could be up for getting sacked. And it's a typical West Ham banana skin. And we have done a job over Everton today. That banana skin happened last week because we turned up against a team like Wolves who don't score goals. And obviously West Ham don't score goals, but Wolves don't score goals, and they beat us 1-0 last week. So the same could be said for the Wolves game last week. I am not sitting here going, ha-ha, la-di-da, woo. I'm buzzing that West Ham won a game. I'm buzzing. I'm feeling that same feeling that you get when West Ham ever win. There is an element of mixed emotions because it's like, well, we've got this typical run of games coming up. How do we foresee how that's going to go? Where do we progress as a club from here? Little small vital signs of little bits of things that make me feel a little bit better about the West Ham situation. Things like Tommy Soucek getting dropped and not playing the game today when he doesn't really deserve to play in the game. He comes on and he was impactful, and I would rather have that right now and let him fight for his place if he needs to fight for his place. But one of the biggest things for me today, more than anything, even though it was it was a professional job. We just done a professional job, simple, straight to the point, got the job done. But the more important point I want to make was about players that haven't been performing this season, players that have been underperforming at West Ham, and today had one of their better games this season, and it's taken them 20 Premier League games to get there, which is ridiculous to think like that, but it's the truth. So we could talk a little bit about Mickey Antonio. You're hearing so much stuff. You're hearing the comments about him potentially heading out the door, potentially leaving the club this winter. I don't know. I don't know how necessarily true that could be. I don't know if he will head out the door. Tonight, you're hearing stories about Enesri heading to Nice, and potentially the deal for Moffey could be back on, and Moffey could be interested in coming to the Premier League. I don't know. We have to wait and see what happens. But when it comes to Mickey Antonio, he's not been performing that well in a West Ham shirt. But today, you can't deny and take away from the fact that he had a better game. He absolutely did. A couple of times in the game, I thought to myself, oh, that's typical Antonio. Like when the ball came in and he was in the 6-yard box and he headed the ball, he definitely looked like he was heading it on goal. But he did put that shot wide, the header wide. But his hold-up play was so much better. He held the defence off a lot easier. He brought the midfield into play. He did everything he was asked to do. He worked the flanks. He worked on the left-hand side. And obviously in the first half, at one point, him and Bowen switched onto the right-hand side. And I think what we saw during that game was that a player in the back line for Everton, Tarkowski, was struggling. So we bring Antonio out onto the right-hand side and challenge him and absolutely go at him and cause him concerns, which is exactly what he did. And then he rolled the Tarkowski. He got the ball into the box and then he crossed it in for Jared Bowen to tap it in. That is the difference of fine margins. That's the difference between someone like Antonio finally showing up to the occasion, showing West Ham fans, no, do you know what? I'm not over and out where a lot of people are doubting me. I'm not saying, Antonio, listen, I'm turning around and I'm saying to you guys that I reckon if we were to receive a reasonable fee for Antonio, I think it would be a good deal for West Ham. But the point I'm trying to make is today's game, what sits well with me is a couple of players that haven't been performing, who have been underperforming, have stepped up a little bit more than normal today. Antonio was one of them. Bowen's the other one. God, he's probably played himself off of the World Cup squad. Last season he was firing on all cylinders and he was sitting on that plane. But come the tail end of the season, he gave himself no chance. He dipped in form, and that form continued into this season. And every now and then, I've always said about a player like Jared Bowen that he is capable on his day of doing something from nothing. And David Moyes has always consistently said about Jared Bowen that his fitness levels are through the roof, that he can turn up and do a job and all this sort of stuff. So he is one of the kind of favoured boys. But the situation is with Jared Bowen is when you get him firing on all cylinders and he can be creative and he can challenge and he can take the ball at defenders, then you do have a quality player there. And he showed that quality today with the 2 goals. And that is going to do West Ham so much positive for moving forward. I get it. We've got such a strong, strong next round of fixtures. And on paper, it's not something that you particularly look at and think, I've breathed the confidence, because we're playing a team that are struggling on and off the field, like Everton, beating them 2-0 at home. Our first victory since I think Premier League victory since October. So all that sort of stuff reads against West Ham. But we have to be able to bottle whatever this was today and push forward as a team. And if you're getting players, the underperforming players like Bowen and Antonio, starting to slightly pick up a little bit of form, that can only but help our cause. Then you go on to our defence. I look at the West Ham lineup today and I think to myself, what is he doing putting 5 out there? Me and Russ done a show earlier on today and we were talking about how I said Moyes has to go to a 4. He has to go to a 4 at the back. No ifs or buts about it. That's what he's got to do. And I see the lineup and I'm trying my best to be positive. And I'm thinking, shit, man, he's finding a reason to put Emerson Palmieri in there. And he's obviously playing a Gerd, Zuma and Ogbonna. And my concern about the Ogbonna inclusion, and how wrong could I be, was his performance last week. If you watch the Wolves game, you see a Gerd screaming and shouting constantly at Ogbonna to push up, get him out, come up, push up, get out of the box, don't have a deep line. Don't give Wolves an opportunity to attack at us. And my word, man, what a performance from the 3 of them today. What a performance. I think collectively as a group, those 3 players cleared the ball for West Ham 3 times more than the whole Everton team collectively. A ridiculous stat. But a performance from these 3 stonewall defenders that refused to let the ball get past them. There was only a couple of occasions that the ball got played in neatly through the back line. But player was maybe one yard back and couldn't tap it in, etc. One of those incidents, I think, was Calvert-Lewin. But you are talking about three players here that stepped up to the occasion. But the one in particular is Naif Aguerd. Oh my word, we have got a talent here. We really do. At one point, we all thought he was going to be injured. We did. We genuinely thought that was him. That was him done for the season. It actually was a carbon copy tackle of the tackle that he got injured against Rangers in the pre-season friendly back in the summer, where the ball got through, but he made up the ground easy enough to challenge the ball and get the ball. So it was great to see him there. He was leading the line from the back. One occasion where Everton counter-attacked, broke. I think it was Damari Gray. He had the pace on Zuma. Zuma was the last man defending. Aguerd was behind him, but he was catching up. And you could see him screaming at Zuma. He said, go back, because what he was saying was, I've got it covered. So you go and be the backup, man. You go and be the backup guy. You go and do that job. And Aguerd just absolutely stepped up today, big style. He dominated in talking and communication and spatial awareness. He was left, he was right, he was central, but he was controlling Zuma and Ogbonna. And that's something, as much as I have slated Ogbonna in the past and rated Ogbonna in the more recent years, to be his age with such a bad injury, to come back and have a performance like he did today when the going gets tough, hats off to you. So like I said, it sounds like I'm blowing the trumpets down West Ham thing. The situation is we've won the game, and let's enjoy this win. But let's bottle this win and let's push forward and see what we can do as a team collectively when we're working on the systems and the routines. It looks like now after this game, I can foresee Moyes sticking with a 5. And also I can see West Ham sticking with Moyes. Get your comments in and let me know your thoughts on that. But you do have the opportunity to come in on the phone lines and dial in and give me your thoughts as well. I mean, if people do want to even come on the screen, I can send you the link. You just need to let me know. So many people in the comments. So, well, let me jump in and see what everyone's saying. Epic Hash is saying, I hope Moyes gets sacked as soon as possible. Mixed feeling from Harry on this win. Epic is saying it would be a shame if he was still here when we played Derby. Harry says happy for Bowen. Kevin is saying sack Moyes once he gets 35 points. Harry says he's on the train home. Black Country Hammer, good result, but I'm still Moyes out. We've got some tough games with very little points to be gained. Very, very tough running, just my opinion. And I appreciate that. And everyone's obviously entitled to that as well. The team looks shattered, in my opinion, but did look like we had a plan to score. Well, they had to score, mate. Black says, I agree, Anton. We've got a good squad, but unfortunately with the wrong manager, Moyes has passed his sell-by date. Ruroni Tensions is saying, let's go. I haven't gotten endorphins from a game in so long. Felt good today. The Real Simpson says, we beat the worst side in the league who dominate possession twice as much as us. Do that against anyone else and we get humped. But I've seen this today. I've seen loads of people talking about this domination of possession. But how many times this season have we dominated possession and lost the game? And we keep talking about the fine margins. In actual fact, what you saw today was a little bit more similar to last season. Today's performance was an average last season, like an average better West Ham team. Does that make sense? So when West Ham were playing well over the last 2 seasons, today's performance was an average version of that. So don't hold much possession, let the other team hold possession and move forward. We have to remember something in that possession stats as well. Everton held the ball in the back 3 because Mina, Connor Cody, and Tarkowski had no idea what to do with the ball. And Iwobi and Onana had to consistently drop deep to collect the ball. And they passed a lot sideways. They absolutely passed a lot sideways. Definitely. David Moyes is in the house. Obviously, Sakami will send his club back to the Stone Age. Good to see you, Mr. Moisey. Once Ings starts scoring goals, we'll climb up the league, especially if Bowen also chips in with a few. We'll talk about that in a second. Always gave 100% and wanted to instill a good team spirit. The character and fire in the belly is what gets the points on board. Matt Foster said it was controlled possession. We never panicked and never overplayed. It's a good way to a good analogy on it. Nick, we need to get behind our team. I do think that as well. And I do think people do. I think even if people want Moyes out, I don't doubt for a second people want to get behind the team. People are worried that, and it's easy to say that excuse before the game started, that if we win this game, Are we painting over the cracks? Well, the only thing now, time will tell. We'll only have to wait and see. People still think we need to get rid of Moyes on this occasion. I don't doubt for a second the board have been thinking about it, but maybe their concern is who else is out there. Maybe they are on the mindset that some of the fans are saying who else is out there that can come in and take over this job. We'll have to wait and see with that one. Everton looked awful. The worst team we've played against in months. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But what's interesting about that, Matt, is this game still had the ability to be that banana skin. And Wolves, who struggled to score goals, scored a goal against West Ham, who don't, in theory, concede the goals. So it just swings and roundabouts a little bit. I cannot play on behalf of Antonio, Rice, Zuma, Emerson, and non-performers. Back your manager till the end. Matt Foster says the board are to blame for Everton's mess, not Lampard. They've been underachieving for longer than us. Kevin Locke says fit. If Ings stays fit for 28 games, 9 goals, I'm happy. Well, let's talk a little bit about Danny Ings. So obviously Danny Ings wasn't in the starting lineup for West Ham. And that was one of my big concerns because when me and Russ did the show about the starting 11, I anticipated that he would be in the starting 11. But Moyes said, nope, that's not happening. We're going to stick with Antonio. And he came on. I think he got 25, 30 minutes. I tell you what, really good hold-up play. Someone said in the chat earlier on in the review show that they didn't think he had he didn't look fit. But I actually think that's his way. That's how he is. That's what he looks like. And that's how he performs on the park. So I think that Ings is fit. I think he's ready to rock and roll. I think it will take him a little bit of time to adjust to playing with the new team members that he's got. But I think that will happen extremely easy. I'm not remotely concerned about that, but his hold-up play was really good. He dropped deep. He brought midfield into play, a bit like what Antonio was doing earlier on. He is actually a bit of a trickster, and I actually kept thinking in the game, I'm looking forward to when I see the day that him and Skamaka can play together. I think they'll feel really nicely and really well. So those signings and those sort of signings can only but help our cause. Just going to be interesting to see if we do anything over the next thing. But yeah, I was impressed with Danny Ings. He didn't really get a chance. I think there was the only chance he potentially nearly had, and it was it wasn't even his chance, but it was when Rice was running through on the park on the goal, and Ings was calling for the ball earlier. But I don't know necessarily if Rice had peripheral vision enough to see it, which he was right in front of him, but to see Ings passing in behind the defender, because you put it there, I'll put it into the back of the net. And Rice was more than entitled to go on and take a chance at goal, which is what he did. And it went literally, it curled out from the goal, actually, just past the post. So that was really unfortunate. But apart from that, I thought his running was really good. His hold-up play was really good. And I think that's a sign of things to come, hopefully, as well. Where are we? Here we are. Sorry with Moyes, we're running to stand still. We need to push on with fresh mindset, fresh tactics, and a plan B. Do you know what though? I think I agree. I think no one would disagree with that comment. It's just at what stage would we do that? People are saying now, and some people are saying summer. Here's an interesting thing. I think a group of fans want Moyes out now. I think a group of fans want Moyes out in the summer. And I think there's a group of fans that don't want Moyes out at all. So I think it's actually split in 3 ways. And that is what makes the whole situation interesting when you're a West Ham fan, innit? Stuart says, where is it? Zuma had a strange game, looked very uncomfortable within himself. I thought he had a fantastic game. It looked like he picked up a bit of a niggle. He was going one-on-one with, I think it was Damari Gray. And he had to step up to the plate, man. He had to run at full pelt to make sure that did not, that situation didn't go downhill. But he done well, and he looked like he pulled up. I was concerned that maybe he pulled a groin or his hammy. I wasn't worried about his knee. It definitely didn't look like his knee. But he stepped up to the plate. The 3 of them today, the 3 central defenders today were phenomenal for us. Ings only trained for 30 minutes on Friday, so was unlikely to start. But he's been training the whole season, Matt. He's been training the whole season, so he is fit. He is permanently ready to go. I think West Ham fans were slightly concerned about the situation that Moyes does, which is bedding in a player, but he can't do that. Can't do that anymore. I'm not arsed about that anymore. The truth is, even if we turn things around this season, the turnaround is starting from shite. So I'll take the win happily, but we have a lot to do to build on it. We do, mate. We absolutely do. And the situation is, no matter who comes into the club, whether that mean it's Moyes in the summer or a new manager, we are about to enter we are in the midst of transition. Trust me, it's happening again in the summer. When you think about the 8 players that are out of contract coming up in the summer, if by some weird, crazy reason we keep every player that's on our books right now, come the summer, we are 8 players down if we do not renew their contracts. And I think from those 8 players, 5, from my understanding, are in their 30s, reasonably late in their 30s as well. So we've got that transition coming our way. I would be open to giving it to Nolan to the end of the season, come back for next season if fans think I'm reason for the failure. It's always good when you've got a bit of David Moyes in the chat, innit? If you could only one player, who and why? I don't know what the question is, Vince. If you could come back and let us know, please. Paqueta was solid today as well. Yeah, do you know what? Do you know what Paqueta's performance was today? Solid defensively. He tried to create a few things. Nothing was really happening. Benrahma was the same. But I thought defensively, if I was Moyes looking at Paqueta and Benrahma, and the teammates looking around them, I'd be tapping them on the back saying, you gave a team performance today. You allowed the other players to shine when normally we're waiting on you, like Paqueta, to penetrate the pass. It was a couple of times Paqueta played unbelievable balls through and no one was there for it. And that's what we're lacking, is that clever minds up the top as well. Vinay says, turn the corner or just sugar rush against a really demoralized team. We're a demoralized team. We are. I think the key, another interesting thing to say here is a sugar rush against a really demoralized team. But is it a sugar rush for them if they had beat us against a demoralized team? So the game equals itself out. So what we're saying in theory is, or what some fans, I'm not saying you're saying this, Vinny, is that we believe there's one team worse than West Ham in the Premier League. Is that what you're? I'm not saying you are saying it. I'm asking, is that what you're saying, or is that what a lot of fans think? Because a lot of people usually go by each season and go, is there 3 worse teams than you if you're challenging for relegation? Are there 3 worse teams than you? And the question to that is, the answer to that is, I think there are. Are we good enough to go down? I think any team could go down, obviously, in their day. But I do and have seen enough to think that West Ham can stay up. I really have. I don't see this like the season when we had Di Canio and Defoe and Les Ferdinand and all that sort of stuff. I don't see it as that season. It doesn't have the same vibe. It doesn't. During that time, there was sporadic performances, but there was no consistency and there was no fine margins. There was no penalty misses, 20 chances taken. I can't remember on paper the last time I've seen West Ham create so many chances, but just can't convert them. It's a lot. It is a lot. Usual suspect, a win is a win, but we beat the worst team in the Premiership. Matt Foster says we should have gone for Gray's backup for Bowen when he left Leicester and joined Everton. I guess Moyes didn't fancy him. Great player, great creative player. That was my biggest concern about Everton today, actually, was him. Because the last time that this happened, the last time that he played against West Ham, he tore Sifal a whole new one, and that was a big, big concern for us as well. 2 seconds, let me just send this to someone who's asked for it. 8, 3, 8, 4, 6. Right, let me see what's next. West Ham faithful. I swear all 3 centre backs looked like they got injured during the game. I was concerned at one point, actually. With the 3 at one point, but I think they've woken up and got okay from it. So get an if Everton go down and West Ham stay up. I mean, listen, what a talent he is. Today's game really has shown me why we were chasing him. He is unbelievable. He is a creative spark. He is a spark of something. Like if you're an Everton fan, you must be looking at Anana thinking, shit, man, if we don't buck up our ideas, we're going to lose a player like this. Like, yeah, he looks like the article we should have had in the middle of the park. He's a fantastic player. A fantastic player. Are you still a Moyes supporter? I have been Moyes out since October. Wow. Sugar Rush because it's a massive game. No, I get that. Definitely. Usual suspect. Sorry. Vince says, sorry, I'm naked. What? I'm naked. If you could spend a week during the off season with one player, who and why? If I could spend, it's a really random question, Vince. It's a really random question. What are you asking me? What are you asking me, Vinny? Vince? Baked autocorrect. Sorry, I'm baked. Oh, you're baked. You're not naked. I am here. Am I back? Please tell me if I'm back. I am. I believe I am. Yes, I am. The thing is, Everton will place Lampard and their fans will temporarily stop their campaign and Everton will improve too little too late for them. Interesting. Yeah, Matt Foster is saying, I just want to make sure I'm back. Steve says, I'm happy we finally won as well. Everton should give Lampard a 30-year contract and £1 million a week. Oh, the banter. Usual suspect, use list of things wrong with Moyes, favouritism, defensive slags. If Benny does not pick Areola, kryptonite for young players, foreign players can't understand him, etc., etc. I'm back from being frozen, so apologies as well. Usual suspect, agree with everything you say. Vince, I am back, absolutely. Gatesy or Duke is in the house. Good to see you, mate. Thank you very much. If you haven't already, go and check out Forged from Iron West Ham. Gatesy, if you want to come on, you're more than welcome, mate. Dial the number. I'm only going to stay on for another 10 minutes. Yeah, I think it's 10 minutes I'm staying on for. So if you're more than welcome to come on and get your point across, then I'll happily do it as well. So if you want to dial that number, 0116 318 3846, get your point across. Anyone else who's watching is more than welcome to do it. That would be great. Thank you. Vinny says, if they keep Moyes, the board need to make 2 more signings. Well, listen, the one thing I did want to get through was David Moyes' post-match presser. So let me go through some of the questions that he was asked and what he actually said. One of the things that he was asked was, how relieved was he at winning this game? This is what David Moyes says. He says, if you're indicating it's a relief to me, I think it's a relief to the whole club. We all want to win, the club itself and everybody in the club, and it was a big result for everyone connected. I have to say the players earned it. They recognise the situation they're in, and we are working to get the club away from where we are. That's the issue. So, yep, absolutely. Now, the next question was, how do you go about entering this game with the amount of pressure on yourself and with the experience you have? He says, I have to say, I think probably the biggest strength I've had is I've had a board behind me who have been really supportive, have backed me, maybe made it a lot easier. If it was different, you would maybe ask me a different question, but I still believe there are some things this board don't want to do. They don't want to make any changes, so I've had a great confidence. I also believed that I would win today. I did. I thought that I'd win today, and I thought we have to turn the tide. We can't keep going the way it has been. I thought Danny Ings' introduction yesterday as well as gave us a little bit of good feeling that things could change, and for that, it worked out well, but also my experience as well as got me to the stage where I'm saying, okay, these things can happen. I'm quite cool about the thing, and obviously inside, I'm obviously wanting to win because I'm so disappointed I've not been able to win for the past 7-8 games or whatever it's been now. Now, listen, let's take a little bit of notification from his comment in there. Where is it? I also believed that I would win today. I did. I thought I'd win today, and I thought we have to turn the tide. You would want... I can pick that comment a little bit. Surely to God, you want that every week. Surely you want that intensity every single bloody week. Every week. That's what you require. So, yeah, iffy comment. Then he said, what can you still realistically achieve this season? Being in the Europa Conference League and the FA Cup. Here he is. He says, to be in European football in March, for West Ham to be in Europe 2 years back-to-back, finishing 6th and 7th in the Premier League. You look how difficult it is at the moment. You look at the standard of the teams you play against. We've had a couple of extraordinary years, and we're all disappointed because we've not been able to reach that height this year. But I genuinely believe that given time, there you go. I think if you watch today, I thought Agerd was fantastic at how he played. I think Paqueta, people are beginning to see more of what he's about. I think we do need time to let some of them settle in, and hopefully we can build that team. We broke it up a little bit last year to try and make it better. Not quite done that yet, but hopefully we're on the right track now. To a certain extent, I agree with what he's saying. I'm not arsed about the whole kind of bedding in period now. Agerd is more than bedded into this club. So we don't need to worry about that. Yeah, I'm starting to see the benefits of Paqueta as well. Absolutely. He said, how annoying was it? This is what he was asked. How annoying was it for you and for Frank Lampard with the game being built the way it was? He said, I think when you're in the job, you understand that in football management, it's a fair game. I think, though, if I am being really honest, for one man to come in here and ask another man about his job in the world we live in at the moment, I think it isn't the right thing to do. I guess you've all got editors or people who are wanting and telling you to ask the question because of the position we are in. We have to take that and get on with it. But I would hate to think that Everton would go down because they have meant so much to me over the years. And obviously all I'm doing at the minute is to get West Ham in the best position I can and try and win the trophy as well. What do you think of that comment? You know, definitely a lot of pressure on him. So just let me reply. Sorry. To that one. That's a couple of interesting comments there as well from it. So the next one he was asked was, what did I make of Naif Aguerd's performance? How tough has it been not having him available for much so far? He said, I think he's probably started 3 or 4 games. I thought today was probably signs that people could see. I thought he defended really well against a strong, powerful Everton side at set pieces. I thought he passed the ball out very well from the back. I thought he had a couple of great diagonal passes, which relieved the pressure on us and a little bit as well. Again, he's going to take time to get used to going to the grounds and what the Premier League is like at the centre forward level. He's going to come up against, but I thought he played well today. I thought all the defenders played well today, to be fair. Those comments, that's a little bit of a concern. I don't get that because he's ready. Agerd's ready. There's no need, no ifs and buts, but it doesn't need any more time. He's played international. Listen, with the caller in. Hello, you're live on the West Ham Network.
Well, this is a little bit different, Anton.
And it's Gatesy from Forge from Iron. How you doing, mate? You okay?
All right, mate. Yeah, how about yourself?
Yes, I am not bad at all. So, Gatesy, mate, this is a little bit different. A little cheeky phone call.
Yeah, it's a bit like the old radio phone-ins back in the day. This.
Yes, it certainly is, mate. It certainly is. Right, you've been at the game today.
Yeah.
You saw the lineup. I mean, if you don't, I'll kind of fire the questions at you, and I'll see what your answers are. So, you saw the lineup. How were you feeling about it?
I'll be honest. My initial reaction was, "Oh bloody hell! What are we doing? 3 centre backs at home against a team that are probably worse than us, if I'm being honest with you." And I just looked at it and went, "Oh no," you know. I wasn't confused by it, but with the benefit of hindsight, I've got to say, listen, kept a clean sheet. We got the job done. I have looked at that latterly, and I want to chat on WhatsApp with a few people, and one of the people in this group is sort of not terribly impressed that we've played at home against the struggling Everton team, and we've managed to conjure up a 32% share of the possession. And my point was, well, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I really don't care about that. My primary objective out of this was to get 3 points by hook by crook. However it came, I'm really not bothered. And the last 2 seasons that we had in Premier League football, an awful lot of the time we were getting a sort of like that sort of amount of possession anyway, and we managed to get a 6th place and a 7th place off of the back of it. So to be perfectly honest with you, Anton, it's job done for me. As far as that was concerned. So yeah, I think it was the result we needed, and little bit of confidence to players that were quite clearly lacking in that confidence, and hopefully they can take a little bit of that confidence onto the game at St James's, which is not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination, but we've given ourselves a little bit of breathing space.
Yeah, we absolutely have. And I think you're right, though, Gatesy, when you talk about things like the possessional football. I described it before you came on there that today's game was like, if you take the past 2 seasons of positive, not the Premier League downturn from January onwards, but the whole 2 seasons as a positive that we've just had. Today's game was like an average day at the office, if you look at those last 2 seasons, but it was a professional job more than anything. And the job was let's come in, let's get the points, let's get the job done, and like by any means. And even though it's against, and this is the next question where it leads on to, we've played Everton, right? A team that are struggling on and off the park. Was our victory today because Everton are shit? Or was there something you saw that gave you any form of hope moving forward?
I think a little bit of both, if the truth be told. I think that a better team than Everton, we may well have had more of a problem with. Okay. That's probably fairly safe to say. But I think that defensively we was quite solid, and one player that I am going to give a little bit of praise for, I'll be honest, like, why are we signing him? And I've not an awful lot of the time seen an awful lot from him where I've been terribly infused. But I've got to say, I thought Emerson had a key role down that left-hand side. I thought defensively he looked okay. And I thought offensively he looked excellent. I mean, he had a shot in the second half where he forced a save from Pickford, got a corner. And the guy that was standing to my left made the comment. He said, "Could you imagine Cresswell doing that?" With all due respect, I was like, absolutely no chance.
Yeah.
He just wouldn't have had the legs to carry him that distance that quickly and be able to unleash a shot at the end, which almost produced a third goal for us. So I thought he looked quite good. I thought Aguerd at the back, playing on the left of the three centre-backs that were set up, I thought he looked very calm, composed. The only worries that I had about both him and Zuma had little moments where they seemed, as far as their mobility was concerned, that they were a little bit, that was impacted negatively, let's put it like that. They looked like they were limping a little bit. But they recovered. I was sitting there thinking, oh no, first of all Zuma, and then it happened to a Gerd in the second half. And I'm thinking, oh no, this is not good. But they both come through it, and fingers crossed whatever the issues were, they've recovered. They'll be ready for the next game, and we go again.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I want to kind of touch on the defense here a little bit. I've been one person that holds my hand up and says I was concerned heavily about Ogbonna's inclusion in the team, especially after last week against Wolves. I thought that at the start of the game in particular, Ogbonna really struggled. I think he grew into the game against Wolves. I don't think defensively we were awful last week. It just wasn't a great performance against Wolves. Even for Wolves themselves, it wasn't a great performance. But the Ogbonna today was interesting. But what made it even more interesting was the fact that we saw Zuma and Aguerd. And obviously, we've seen it a few times this season, Gatesy, with the five at the back, the three centre-backs playing. It looks like this is a way that we want to go moving forward. Gerd, as a footballer, mate, from the years of watching West Ham that you have.
Yeah. A very accomplished ball-playing centre-half. He can tackle, but he's tackling, he's heading, his anticipation. He's quick across the ground. He's stronger than you might think he is. He's got quite a slender frame about him, so you might sort of think that maybe you can sort of like dominate him physically, but I haven't seen, although he's limited time in the Premier League he's had, I haven't seen anyone manage to really do that to him so far. And I think if he can steer clear of any injuries for the remainder of this season, and I'm saying that touching wood, and the same goes for Zuma. I think we've got a solid defensive unit, whether we play as a back three, whether we play as a back four, whatever the formation. If we can keep those two primarily fit for the remainder of the season, then we make our defence that much stronger. I mean, if you look at our defence this season, it's probably been the one thing that you can look at and go, actually, that's still functioning quite at a decent standard. I know this, I'm about to say, might not be setting the bar very high, but of the teams that found themselves in the bottom half of the Premier League before this match weekend, we had the best defensive record. And I think if you include the whole Premier League, from memory, I think we was about fifth or something like that in terms of our defensive record. So if you can have a strong defence, you're always giving yourself half a chance of being able, even if your forward line isn't functioning, you're giving yourself half a chance of at the very least getting a point. And that, in a relegation battle, which, let's face it, despite today, we're still involved in it. That's exactly the situation we're in. So we need to be strong defensively going forward.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was impressed. I was impressed with the trio at the back line. I think there's some crazy stat coming out from the three players. The three defensive centre backs for West Ham today collectively tripled the amount of clearances that the whole Everton team did. So I think there was like 35 or 36 clearances from the trio of centre backs that West Ham played today, compared to the whole of Everton's team, which had 12. I mean, that just shows you that they had no chance, even if the ball was coming forward. Gatesy, there was one player for Everton I do want to talk about, and you could say it's the one that got away, Onana. You can see the quality he's got, can't you? You can really clearly see that he is a quality player.
Do you think he's getting ahead of Thomas Soucek then? I'm being mischievous.
Yeah, I think we all could.
Very, very yeah. No, he's a decent looking player. Obviously, David Moyes, from what we understand, was keen on him in the summer transfer window. It didn't happen, and I wish him good luck in the rest of his career. But I think he's going to be in for a hard time with Everton Football Club. I mean, that's a club that's had they hemorrhaged money. Their player recruitment has been by and large woeful. Their selection of managers has been woeful. And I'm not saying this as someone that's trying to put the boot in on Everton Football Club. Far from it. They're a fantastic football club. They've got great traditions. They've got fantastic fans, and it's really weird to see a mainstay of top flight football in my lifetime struggling at the bottom. But if Everton do sort of drop down the trapdoor, I think he probably won't be staying in the Championship, to be perfectly honest. I think he's too good for that level.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, Gatesy, final question to you then. I think many West Ham fans thought that we'd be quite busy, especially probably us lot who do YouTube and stuff like that, probably thought we'd be a bit busier talking about the demise of David Moyes and maybe heading out the door, etc. He's still West Ham manager. A couple of questions tied into one. Where are you at with David Moyes after today? Secondary, can we get out of this situation?
I'm cards on the table, and any of you guys that have been watching Forged will know my thoughts that, in my opinion, David Moyes should have been thanked for his service and sent on his way after the Leicester game. That's my opinion, rightly or wrongly. That obviously didn't come to pass. Here we are, he's still the manager. We've won the game today. And I'm not one of these guys, and there are people that I know that have had this thought that, oh, well, if we get beat by Everton today, I'd actually be happy with that, because then that would mean that they'd surely pull the trigger on David Moyes and get him out the door. I don't think we're in a position where we can wave away 3 points that are on offer, even if you think that the incumbent manager is not up to the task. It just never ever do that. I never could sort of wish my team get big, even if there's an ulterior motive to it. As far as going forward's concerned, look, his next Premier League game is obviously away at Newcastle. That's going to be a tough ask. We've then got a home game against Chelsea, away against Tottenham. It's still in the melting pot, mate. As far as his job is concerned in the long term, and as far as we're concerned, as a byproduct of that, we're still involved in a relegation battle, mate.
Yeah. It was interesting. Just after the game, we done a review. Russ was having a little wander around the London Stadium. He obviously caught up with Duke, and quite a few fans jumped on the stream, and it was 50-50. It was 50-50 from the amount of fans we spoke to from where people wanted, did people want him out or want him in? This is an interesting comment. No, this game was classified El Sakiko, and neither have been sacked. False advertising. But I think there's plenty of time left in the day yet with the Everton situation. I've seen some of the stuff going on from there. Anyway, Gatesy, because we've got match of the day coming up and there's a big boxing match coming up, I'm going to say goodbye to you. But before you go, let everyone know where they can find you, please. I've got the thing up on the show so people can see where to come and find you.
Oh, you're a gentleman. For those of you that haven't already checked us out, we are Forward from Iron West Ham United. There's myself, there's Duke, that Anton's referenced a little bit earlier. We both sort of pop up here and there, do match previews, match reviews, and the odd little bits and pieces here and there. We managed to break through the grand total of 1,500, not 15,000, 1,500
Brilliant.
Subscribers. We're pretty low level. We're not at the level of the mighty West Ham network, but we have a little bit of fun, we have a little bit of laugh, and if you haven't already done so, we'd be delighted for you to pop over and get involved in a live chat here and there. So please pop over and give us a subscribe.
Absolutely. It's a great West Ham community, so get yourself over across to the Forge from Iron West Ham channel. Help out Gatesy and Duke as well. Gatesy, I'll be in touch, mate, because I just realised I didn't get back to you about one thing you asked me about YouTube, and I forgot, so I do apologise. So I will get in touch with you about that.
That's all right, mate. Not a problem.
All right. Thanks very much.
Don't worry. It's all good.
Take it easy, mate.
Appreciate your help.
No worries,
you
mate.
take care.
Take it easy.
There you go.
Bye. Bye. There you go. Gatesy from Iron Stam group. So there you go. Just a kind of short and sweet final word, really. That's it. Short and sweet final words. A few more things I want to just cover quickly before we do go. And the questions that were asked on David Moyes' post-match press conference is part of that pressure on the club as a whole due to the value of being in the Premier League financially. His answer was, I do agree with your question. I think that the money involved in being in the Premier League club is such a big thing. It really is. For all the clubs, I'm not still sure what makes it an excuse to work, excuse to ask the question, but I understand the people who work have to ask those questions because they're employed to do it as well. I still think in my mind, for the protection of managers, I think sometimes they are seeing it's fair game, and you think, hang on a minute, I really hope Everton stick with Frank. I think he's a top bloke, and from our conversations and times I've been with him, I hope that Everton find a way out of the situation, but I have to first of all think of my position, because me winning one game doesn't mean that everything is fine. All I will say is that I've had a brilliant support from the board the whole time, and I've got to say they've really helped. Even buying Danny Ings yesterday shows they want to help and do everything they possibly can. So, I mean, he quite clearly states that the board are backing him. No matter what. I mean, that's the clear message I got from David Moyes' post-match press conference. You take that however you wish as well. But the main thing is, shit, man, we got the victory. We got 3 points. We're moving up the league a little bit, and we'll see what happens moving forward. Richard says, just been watching Everton TV. They're blaming their demise on Rafa when they was their manager. He would destroy us if we were to get him as well. Another 7 or 8 wins for safety. Absolutely. Anyway, that's the end of the Final Word show. Thank you very much for joining us all. And we're going to leave you with a little sing song before we do. Take it easy, everyone. And of course, come on, you're